listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Welcome once again to the Shite Talk podcast show. Mark and Ken.
What's up?
On episode 233 of the Shite Talk podcast show.
Thereabouts.
Yep, thereabouts. We're getting through the episodes. We've no big episodes coming up by the sound of it. Like, 233 is kind of a nothingness of me. Like, you know
we have 234. We have 234 coming.
It's not big. It's not like a 235.
Well, we can make it a big one.
That is true. We don't really do that quite well. We don't know the whole 204 thing again.
No, 204 was a raging success.
Yeah. Actually, next time someone asks me, what podcast should I listen to? I'm going to say, of course, 204. It was our biggest podcast.
Yeah, it's our biggest, most successful, best podcast.
I think the episodes leading up to 204 are better than 204.
Shh.
Well, maybe we go, oh, well, actually, do you know what? We had some crackers before that. 202 and 201, oh my god, they were off the chain. And then they're like, I'm never trusting you again. It's like, seriously, what you really need is 229.
What you really need is
a different podcast.
Yeah.
A different podcast is what they really need. And, well, they probably will need a different podcast after this show. Because, I don't know, if this show's like it's on acid this week. I don't know what we were thinking in terms of storytelling. It's only going to go badly, Ken.
It never goes badly. It's only going to go well.
Well, this might be our very first bad podcast.
Why?
I'm just putting it out there. So, like, coming up in the show, like, let's just say everything that we have, like, it's going on in the world right now. We're talking about mermaids.
Yeah, mermaid.
We're talking about mannequins.
Yeah.
We're talking about Christians.
We are.
We have influencers.
Of course.
And for some reason, we're talking about Keanu Reeves.
Why not?
Out of everything we could be talking about today, Keanu Reeves makes our podcast list.
What's wrong with Keanu Reeves?
There's nothing wrong with Keanu Reeves. I actually quite like Keanu Reeves. Could he be our long-lost hero of the week? Or sometimes we used to have a good news story. Now we just shit on things.
I think we we gave up with the good news story.
Usually they're good news story for, like, a kind of indirect way. Like, it wasn't necessarily, like, cool what he did, but we are like, yeah, fair. Like,
well, usually we get in trouble for saying things. So
yeah, but like our last hero of the week, I think, was a guy who caught a ball.
Yeah, well, I think we should just avoid heroes because
yeah, because eventually they'll do something or say something, and then we have to apologize.
Yeah,
saying they do not represent our values and what we stand for.
Just find out idiots. It's far easier.
Yeah, everybody's idiots. We don't praise any more countries in case they invade people. Actually, in fairness, like, we're on the whole. Well, I was on Russia has the most idiots of the week, and you're like, no, it's the USA, and we're like, it's one of the two. You know.
Well, I'm not going to say anything right now to piss off Russia.
Yeah, that's true enough. Well, they were no longer bombing our fish. Did they actually end up even bombing our fish in the end? That kind of went quite silent. There was a whole thing about, like, them testing, like, weapons on international water near our kind of, like, where our fishermen fish. They're like, well, it's not your land, and they're like, well, we fish there. It's just like, stop being dicks. Fish over there where it's secretly not our land, but there's no fish. And then some minister got involved, and then there was, like, kind of like, okay. And there just went silence. There was really nothing on it.
The what you call them came. The Yanks came and told them to fuck off.
No, that's not what happened. I think they just, like, invaded a different country. Yeah,
but when they were in Irish waters, the Yanks and the frogs came and told them to fuck off.
The frogs?
Yeah, the French.
Alright, never heard them call them frogs.
You never heard them called frogs?
Yeah. I didn't hear that about the French thing. This is coming from a reliable source now, Ken.
Yeah.
Where did you hear this now?
Like the Independent.
The Independent, okay. So the Americans told them, here, stop that now.
Yeah.
That's nice of them.
That was nice, yeah.
It's always nice to have people in high places.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah. Be nice to everybody, and it'll do stuff for you. That's what we said last week. I stand by it. So I'll give people a little bit more detail into what we're talking about this week. Right now, we're just talking nonsense.
Yeah, aren't we always?
Pretty much, yeah. So in terms of our mermaids, a few years ago, give you backdraft on this. A few years ago, there was a documentary out that looked quite realistic and had a young, impressionable Mark Kearns believing that there possibly could be mermaids, and then somebody was like, years later, oh no, that's not real. That's there's a name on fake documentaries. That's like a faux documentary.
Mockumentary?
A mockumentary is another word for it, yeah. That was a mockumentary. Or there's one like the War of the Worlds. And that was another one. That was probably the original one, where it was played out on BBC Radio, and people actually believed that the world has been invaded by aliens because it was on BBC. It would be like the equivalent of it being on RTE, and everything on RTE has to be true. If RTE are saying we're being invaded by aliens, I think there was like one famous story of a man where it was actually meant to be happening in the story that was being played on the radio is right up the road of the street. If it actually was happening, he could be able to see it. He still believed it, even though he could be like, just look out his door, look up the road and see that there's no aliens invading. He believed what you heard on the radio. It's like insane that this actually happened. On the mermaid documentary, it was very realistic. It was well done. And then years later, I was like, oh, I can't believe, like, do you ever see that? I used to tell everyone about this fucking documentary about the mermaids. And I remember there was another one called American Gangsters, America's Pranksters. There's about like,
oh yeah, I remember
Vandal. It was American Vandal. That was another fake documentary, and I remember talking about that. And then I think the mermaid one came up, and he's like, "Oh no, that one's fake as well." And I was like, oh, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, no, that was really well done." No, I believed it for a while, but yeah, I read somewhere that was a fake one, and I was like, oh shit! I was like, I thought that was real. I thought mermaids were real, man. And he's like, yeah. Yeah. So did I for a few days. He's like, I was like, oh shit! I've been telling everyone about that mermaid documentary. I'll have to go back and tell people not to believe anything I ever say again. Anyway,
I'm not even surprised that you used to tell people mermaids were real.
I never said they were real. I just said there was this really cool documentary that was about all these sightings of mermaids, and it was like really cool. And then someone goes, "Mark, that's fake," and I was like, "Oh my god!" I kind of want to watch it again, especially after this, because apparently now scientists are researching mermaids in Japan, Ken. So the plot thickens, saying maybe that was a real documentary. Maybe it was, is what I'm saying.
You know what you should do? You should get your like emergency apocalypse little inflatable boat and go and see can you find a mermaid.
It's always on troubled waters now, Ken. I don't think a dinghy is equipped to go over like 6 foot waves, especially when I never actually had paddles.
Hey, you can just try it.
Yeah, will you come with me? We can do a podcast.
We'll do a podcast from Mark's little dinghy.
Mark's little dinghy. The Atlantic Ocean. We're the real Atlantic FM now. Yeah, so we'll be talking about mermaids and possibly conspiracy theory, or like they said, we always should believe scientists. These are scientists studying mermaids, Ken. Then we have like, how are you with your neighbours?
Okay.
Yeah, you're okay. Well, I think I'm on pretty good terms. Apart from the ones that live opposite our house, to the back, where I do the podcast, where sometimes, like, we've both been caught in situations where they might have looked up and I might have not had clothes on, and it might look like I was staring out the window at them while doing my podcast, but really it's just, my podcast is facing a window, and I can't really look away from the window to do it. Anyway, there was like a time when we were recording this podcast, and their lights were on, and now their lights are off. It could be a coincidence. They could have just left. Or they're like, oh, that weirdo's staring out his window again.
There's a naked mark there again.
Well, there was for a little bit now. Got food all over my clothes. Not to change before the podcast. Last week we were saying we're missing like a video element of a podcast. Imagine if there was a video element of the podcast.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a good idea, actually.
I think it adds stuff to it. I think we definitely should be looking into this. Yeah, so we're talking about beef and with two neighbours, and it's over a mannequin. So that's where the mannequin comes in to it. And there's been kind of like a few different things. There's like these different things Christians believe that are the foreshadowing of the second coming of Jesus Christ. There's meant to be like a black pope, was one I always heard a few years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be like a third world war, and he's going to come down on a cloud. Well, I don't know what's going to happen, whether there's going to be a new pope soon or a third world war, and if Jesus will actually come down on a cloud. But apparently Christians believe, yeah, we're very, very close. They're getting ready for the second coming. I don't know how they're getting ready.
Bomb shelters and I don't know.
They've finally given up. They're finally going to stick to their Lent promise.
Finally going to stick to their Lenten promise.
Yeah, you know, like the 40-day thing.
I used to always do Lent as a kid.
It's a good little challenge to give yourself. Like, if you want to just take the whole religious thing out of it, like setting like 40 days to either give up something or else do like a task or do something like that. It's like when choker boxes come out. Is that around Lent as well? They're like, just give money to people who need it. This is a time where we just throw change into stuff.
Into random boxes.
Yeah, give to the kids in Africa. Starving kids in Africa. Their friends.
Yeah.
Eat that dinner. There's starving kids in Africa.
The old choker box.
Yeah. And yeah, so like, have you been guilt tripped into giving money in shops?
I work in it.
All right. Well, I was in a shop there the other day, and I only stopped to get a coffee. And they're like, "Do you want to donate €2 to Ukraine?" I was like, "No," and I was like halfway saying no. I was like, "Yeah, go on." I was like, "They're gonna make mint out of that. No one's gonna go like, no, no, I'm good."
Lots of people do say no.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if they go into several garages that being said, "Do you want to help out Ukraine?" It's like, I've already helped them out. I already gave them €2.
Like, you can't just say no.
I feel bad to get you to like the eyes. They're like, okay, you walk away and you feel like a dick for the rest of the day. You know, like I will feel like a dick for the rest of the day. And like I seen this, and then we seem to be fixated on like how influencers make money, because they seem to make a lot of money, and for very weird things. And we have one influencer. This might be the weirdest of them all, and now that is setting the bar very, very low, because we've had farts in jars.
We've had fart jar girl.
Yeah, with fart jar girl, like Batwater girl, washing hair girl was another weird one. This one's probably weirder than all of these, and it's not because it's doing something weird. It's doing something every day, and it's doing something that most people find very, very annoying, like extremely annoying. And she's doing this, and people are paying her, and she's getting like, I think like $1 million a month. Is it?
Yeah.
12 million a year, doing something very, very annoying.
Like, I really don't understand it.
Yeah. And then Keanu Reeves, he is up, and he is about to become Batman. Have you seen the new Batman?
No.
No, me neither. I am going over the weekend, so I've been trying to dip, dodge, dive, duck. All any spoilers, but I think the internet's a lot better about like hiding spoilers. Like I think they give you at least a week. The movie can be out a week, and you're not flooded. It seems with like things that happen in the movie.
Yeah.
I kind of see like I went to see Spider-Man when it came out pretty soon on, but then after I was like, oh, I'm not seeing really too much Spider-Man things on for the first week of it, and then after the first week there was a little bit more stuff that you see about the movie, and then I think in the 2 weeks you're kind of more flooded, so they kind of give people time to like, okay, we're not going to talk about this. You got a week, go see it, or I'll shut the fuck up. But Keanu Reeves is seen as like he's going to be Batman. I was like, oh my god. Like, is this going to be like Batman's father? Is he going to play an older Bruce Wayne? Is he going to play Thomas Wayne? What? This is pretty cool. And then it's like, oh, it's animated. And it's like, oh, I want to see him as maybe an older Bruce Wayne. But yeah,
I don't know how good that would be. Like, Keanu Reeves is cool, but
Batman?
he's kind of very samey. He's very Nick Cage.
Yeah. I kind of feel though with like an older Batman who has kind of been out too much, kind of like maybe a little bit delusional from the whole like crime, kind of like they just end up back out in the streets, and it just every time he puts one away, another crazy lunatic comes along, and he's just kind of like this kind of like aged Batman, and he's kind of gritty, and he's kind of like a little bit. I don't give a fuck about morals anymore. Kind of Batman. I could kind of see him doing that really well. So it's like, I just want to be retired.
I'm too old for this shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm too old for this shit, Batman. Yeah,
that might work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and then he's like, gives it some teenager. You take over.
I'm going to get this orphan.
I'm going to get this 13-year-old boy.
You're going to bring him to my calf.
I'm going to raise him as my own.
Does nobody think this is weird?
Yeah. I'll go to train him. Put on these shorts, boy.
Yeah, wear this. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Aren't we meant to be camouflage? Well, I'm going to make sure all the bullets are directed at you, and then I'm going to hit them from behind. It's like, I don't want to die, Batman. Yeah. But yeah, I'm silly that the movie that he's playing it in is Super Pets, which looks hilarious. So I'm quite funny. I am kind of interested to see that movie anyway. But the fact that
Super Pets,
yeah,
what the fuck is Super Pets?
Oh, so it's like based around like Super Dog and his friends, and they fight crime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now like Batman's dog has a dog, and he goes out like walking the dog in the bat suit.
Yeah, of course he does.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a comedy. So like, I think Kevin Hart might be in it.
Kevin Hart, Jesus.
All the stars.
All the stars. They're really they spared no expense.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves and Kevin Hart. I just want to see them react, even though one's going to be a dog. I think Kevin Hart plays one of the animals. Should we get on the mermaids? I feel like we're all on tender hooks waiting for the mermaid story.
Yeah, let's go with mermaids.
So I already kind of gave you like background that like mermaids are real, possibly real. I used to believe mermaids were real, and then I was kind of like, I was told by a person in training before, and they're like, no, that's not real. That was fake. That was a fake documentary that you watched there. I was like, really? It was TV. It was on TV. It was on Discovery. And like, I slagged off your man who believed the BBC radio thing. I believed it just because it was on Discovery. I was like, it was on the Discovery Channel. It wasn't like on some like Mad Max kind of like channel. You know, dude, one of the ones that you kind of have to know about to go to them. Like, you're like, who watches this? And they have some stupid documentary. It was on this like a really respected educational TV program channel even, and they're like, "You tricked me." It's like when you first time your parents lied to you. You're like, "Oh, this is how the world is." Because this is how life really is. People lie to you.
First time you can catch them out with it.
Yeah, this is like a mummified mermaid. It's rumored that these mermaids, if you eat the skin of a mermaid, you will live forever. Yeah, immortality, Ken.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. So now scientists are studying a mummified mermaid and plan to actually examine it under like a X-ray. So like this is based in Japan. So
of course.
Yeah, the university is in Kurosaki. Saki. I'm going to say Saki. University of Science and Fine Arts. The artifact is actually a religious artifact in Japan, and mermaids are kind of worshipped for healing properties because ancient Japanese mythology says that like if you eat the flesh of mermaid, you will live forever.
It seems legit.
Yeah, exactly. And like Japanese are quite smart. There is a legend that in many parts of Japan that a woman accidentally ate the flesh of a mermaid. Like, how do you accidentally eat the flesh of a mermaid? Like, and then that woman found a mermaid, killed it, brought home, and had fried mermaid. Ain't no way that's a fucking accident. There's no judge in the world going to believe, oh, I accidentally ate the body of a mermaid. That's like saying, I accidentally ate the body of my next door neighbour for having a mannequin. You killed your neighbour. And you ate it. So that woman found a mermaid, murdered it, and was eating Ariel for dinner, and then got caught, and she was like, it was an accident.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. A friend gave it to me. Anyway, she lived for 800 years, Ken.
Oh, very good.
And that's what came to the legend of the mermaid skin. It could have been a mermaid, could be good genetic, but people kind of now worship it. That it can actually possibly heal from certain disease. So people ask the mermaid for kind of like healing properties, and they actually pray to the mummy mermaid to cure the coronavirus.
That's going well.
So the letter where the mummy is, where the mummy came from, suggests that it was caught in a fishing net off somewhere in Japan. I'm not going to even try. And basically, it was preserved. They caught it, the mermaid had died, and they just wrapped the mummy to preserve the mermaid. The fisherman who caught it did not know it was a mermaid.
How did he not know it was a mermaid?
I don't know. Yeah, he just thought it was a fucking retarded fish with arms. It took it and sold it as just like basically an unusual fish. And they're like, who wants this fucking weird fish? Give us $5 for it. This is just some random weird fish. And they're like,
nice.
like, I don't know what it is. Do you want to eat this? And someone kind of noticed it and gone, oh wait, that's actually a mermaid. And yeah, and then was like, it was kept by a family. I thought it was.
Hey, who comes up with this shit?
So the letter, I think, from the preserves, it was like, my family preserved this, wrapped it in tissue and preserved this as a treasure, as a, like, kind of like, we found this mummy mermaid. Yeah, once again, I'm just not going to try to pronounce the letters, but some Japanese city it's in. People can look up. We might just like give it like a link, so people can actually read it themselves.
They can do their own research.
It was in like a glass-proof container, but they moved it to a kind of fireproof safe, probably to like help preserve a bit more. maybe light was like damaging in it.
It seems like I don't know. I'm gonna say they're profiteering off bullshit.
But Ken, they found the mermaid. It was preserved in money wrapped thing. They worship it in a temple. It's in a temple where they preserve it. You can go to this temple. You can see the mummified mummy of a like mermaid. For real, it's tiny. It doesn't even look like a human. It definitely isn't like any human. Like,
I think you just want to believe in mermaids, Mark.
yeah. Well, the priests in this temple would pray to obviously to even like they didn't want to cure the pandemic. Does it even help us slightly, like make it less shit? So I don't know. Maybe it was the mermaid mummy that actually made it less shit. They actually caused Omicron. This kind of puts a little bit of dampener on my story. Because he stated, of course, I don't actually believe mermaids are real. Well, fuck you. I think this is made for export to Europe, other parts of the world, in I think he said the US as well, and places in Japan where there seems to be a fixation on mermaids.
Is there?
I don't know. He said the actual mummy is probably a result of legend of the mermaids, and basically someone just made it look like a mermaid because like there's some kind of fixation. They're like, huh, we'll say we've caught it in this net. Really, we made it, and we're just gonna worship it just for the lols.
just for the crack.
Yeah, so they just made it look like they made a mummy mermaid and said like out of like bones of other things. They're like, they probably just came across a dead body and some fish.
You know what they did? They seen that episode of The Simpsons with the angel.
Yeah, exactly. They seen that episode, so that we can do this. And they went to their local fishing, and there's someone who'd been murdered. And they're like, hey, we'll take this murdered body, take all these fish. Someone was actually found sleeping with the fishes, and we will create it. So yeah. But like it just shows, like you always think of like Japanese, very civilized, very educational, and then, there is that whole part of their culture where there's mythology and traditions and legends. But then you find out they actually believe in mermaids. You're like, what idiots? Because of course I didn't believe in it.
Of course you didn't.
I for all this long I was like, yeah, this is just bullshit. I'm just clickbait. So what did you think of the story?
I just think it was bullshit.
I think I had you on the fence. You were getting kind of the fence. You're like, oh, I don't actually believe mermaids, but like, there's a mummy of a mermaid. Maybe I have to check my biases.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah, that's what happened.
I was clicking into this, and that remind me of that documentary of the story of the mermaids, and I was like, this is probably going to be bullshit. Well, I'm going to click in to see what it is anyway. I kind of wanted to know. It's like, maybe they found, I kind of was like waiting for it. It was really a fish that was like 10,000 years ago.
And the mermaid was a fish.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was a fish. It was probably like, just, basically made up like paper mache, or they were like, we'll make it look like a mermaid, because it looked like it had been tortured. It like had hands to its face. And I was like, Jesus, what happened to this mermaid? It died of a shock or something. Yeah. So mermaids aren't real, and there's no such thing as, I don't know, Santa Claus. Yeah, Santa Claus. I heard one of our listeners, she wrote to us and told us this, that she listens to our podcast, and I think she's a school teacher, Ken, or she's a bus driver for kids.
Oh yeah.
So let's hope to God she wasn't listening to our podcast during the bus journey, and you just ruined Christmas for a load of kids. Well,
oops.
Please let us know if that is the case. If Ken just ruined Christmas for like a busload of kids on their way to school.
Let the teacher explain that one.
Well, the bus driver was listening to a podcast. And on the
This thing happened.
podcast, you're talking about mermaids, so I was really interested.
And then they just said it.
And then they said mermaids aren't real. And I was like, oh yeah, well, that's kind of obvious. That's kind of weird that one of them sort of believed in mermaids. He seemed kind of old. And then they said Santa isn't real.
Is this your like American accent?
This is my like wiener kid accent.
Oh, your wiener kid accent.
Yeah. From
All right.
America.
American wiener kid accent.
Yeah. So, talking about things that doesn't exist. Christians. Well, I was kind of going to leave them for idiots of the week. I think our influencer is a bit of an idiot of the week. Do you want to? We'll talk about the mannequins. So the neighbour story.
Okay, the neighbour story. Yeah.
So let us know what is the story with this, because we kind of like every now and again, like neighbours, particularly certain neighbours. Anyway, where me and you have nice neighbours, kind of get like bogged down in kind of like petty arguments about stuff, and it can get to like it can get a little bit out of hand. And we put like family members who's like their son is like living next door to them. Their uncle lives next door to them, and he called the police on them over noise pollution. So is this kind of a similar story?
This is probably a kind of similar story.
All right, give us the deets.
So this couple called Rosie and Christopher Taylor Davies, they took their neighbour to the High Court, saying that they were forced to live in darkness with their curtains drawn after neighbour Simon Cook propped a dummy up to directly face them. So, like, first of all, their house is 1.5 million pounds.
Yeah.
Right? And their neighbour basically got a mannequin and put a mannequin in like his loft. It's not even like in his bedroom. It's like, from what I understand of it, they have like maybe a 2-story house. He's in like a dormer kind of house. He put a window in the kind of attic part, and he has a mannequin that like basically just looks out the window, but it looks out the window into this couple's house.
Yeah. So they are kind of like, every time they look out their window, they see, oh my god, he's staring in at us again. They're like, oh, it's a mannequin.
Yeah, and they like they said that they're forced to get changed and undressed behind a bookcase and keep the blinds pulled because the dummy is always looking at them.
Maybe like sometimes it's a dummy, but other times it's him, and he switches between the boat. And so like, if his neighbor is like, "Hey, you're staring at me again," he's like, "I wasn't staring. I have a mannequin there the whole time." And they're like, "Well, it's fucking weird that you have a mannequin there."
You weird bastard.
Yeah, so maybe it's the fact that like they think, oh well, actually he sometimes is a mannequin, but other times is himself. But he could then, if he keeps the mannequin there the whole time, he can say it's a mannequin.
Well, the judge ruled that while the neighbour wasn't taking their safety concerns seriously, that he didn't actually break any laws. Like, it was weird, but he didn't do anything wrong.
It's very petty to like actually go to the court over the mannequin. Surely, like after a while, you forget about the mannequins even there.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
And like the fact that they're like, oh, we have to bring him to court over this. Like, they really do have too much money. Where was this case?
In the UK somewhere.
All right, I thought maybe in Ireland. I was like, guaranteed he's like a union representative or something like that. This sounds like something like I bet it was probably better off. I can't think of the union's name, but I remember there was this like the people on the Lewis, right, once were complaining that they couldn't have their lunch And I think the real reason behind the whole thing at the canteen was they wanted to go back to the main canteen to have their lunch. And they're being forced to have their lunch in. So if they go to the end of the line, they have to have their lunch in the other base instead of going all the way back to the main base and having their lunch there. So you can't basically have their lunch with their friends. So they went to the court over this. Oh, and they're like, the big argument was, well, I have to have the sandwiches then in the carriage, and then the sandwiches will go off. And they're like, so like they argue with this. So the judge was like, well, okay, if they give you a freezer bag to keep your sandwiches so they don't go off. And like it was just the most pettiest thing. It was like we're protesting. We're not going to work because we don't get to have our lunch with our friends.
Do you get to have your lunch with your friends?
We're kind of forced to have lunch with whoever's in the van. But I do bring my lunch, and it never went off. Leaving the van in the sunlight doesn't go off. Make rice the day before, I don't get poisoned.
That's more about how cold your van is.
You're not allowed to touch the heatling. I have my sandwiches here. You can't go off. No, well, like I'm glad that I never had that petty neighbours, but there's like it even sometimes happens in work. I remember being in places where they, you know, when you go into a canteen or you go into a place and there's post-it notes or there's A4 pieces of paper that people have printed out, and they're the most pettiest things in the world. I was at a place in the canteen. It was like there's 2 fridges, and it had just over the fridges. It said like, if you want milk, bring it yourselves. And I was like, oh my god! I was like, okay, I'll just have my tea black. They had a little canteen, and it had different offices, places. So like one place would buy milk, and then everyone would just use that person's milk, and then there would be no milk when they came down. So they're like, well, no, this milk's just for this office, and no one else can use it. And they'd write their company's name on it. And it was like, why couldn't they just like pitch in €1 and they just buy 8 liters of milk? Everyone in the place, and like then everyone has milk. Then there's no argument over milk.
I kind of understand sometimes where that comes from.
I can understand if you personally buy milk yourself because there's never milk in the place, and you come down and everybody has like just basically dug into your milk and you have no milk. That'd be annoying. I can get that. To the point where we can't go, okay, hey everybody, we all want tea, we all want coffee, and we all like milk. And Jesus wanted us to like, will we not pull our money together? Or else, do you know what? Why don't we take in turns buying milk? So like Mondays is this people's team, Tuesdays is this person's team, and we just like we this is an easy problem to solve. Like the point where they went onto the computer, typed something up in Word, printed off into the printer, got some salad tape, and typed it up. Like that much energy, you could have bought milk for everybody. Like you could have got into your car, gone to the shops, bought milk, and came back. I just think that was so petty, and it's just like this seems like whoever, like the neighbor who brought the guy to like your man must just love winding them up. I'm sure he does a million different things, and they're like, finally we have something we can sue him over.
Finally.
Yeah, imagine he's just like some retired guy who's just like has nothing better to do just to cause detriment to his neighbor, and he's just like, he has a mannequin out there, and everybody passerby, he tells him this story, and he's laughing his head off that he sticks a mannequin in there, and they're always like giving about the mannequin, and the fact that they're giving about the mannequin makes him want to keep the mannequin there more.
Believe it or not, retired people seem to be the most petty.
Yeah. You get to retirement and you just become extremely petty.
That's my experience.
I'm pretty sure you're glad you don't work in a garage, actually.
In a garage.
Yeah, with the whole fuel thing.
Oh, you still hear about it?
Oh my! I was in the shop actually, and this was a retired person, and I think in Ireland they gave some like decrease in tax, so that like petrol went down, but diesel didn't really go down too much or something like that, or it stayed similar. And there's this like old woman in there, and she'd bought like the premium diesel. She filled up her car, and she paid for it. But then it was asking how much it was per liter, and your one was like, "Oh, it was 2 point whatever," and she was like, "Oh, why hasn't it went down?" And she was like, "Well, diesel didn't really go down." And it's like, "You pay for the premium diesel. That's why it's so expensive." And she's like, "Well, I know I pay for the premium diesel." And she's like, "Well, then what are you complaining about?" She's like, "Why hasn't the diesel was meant to go down?" And she's kicking him a fuss. And I was like, "You paid for the premium diesel. You know you're getting the premium diesel. You're probably not short of a few cash. Why are you holding up the whole line? This coffee's getting really hot. Please move out of my way and let me pay for this coffee." It's like... some people. I was just retired. I guarantee she was going back to her house. She's literally had nothing better to do other than argue with a person in the garage about diesel.
A person in the garage, she doesn't even know.
Who just works there, didn't adjust the price. It wasn't like she goes, "Oh, I'll just keep the prices the same as they were yesterday."
But like, that's what people are like. Like, people are just really fucking annoying.
Do you have actually people coming into where you work and be like, "Have you seen the diesel?"
Yeah.
Oh, really? I bet they're like, "What can I talk to this guy to? Oh, he looks like he likes to complain."
Like, I've said this like to people that I work with. Like, I don't understand why people decide that I'm the guy to talk to. Like, I'm not very approachable.
You've probably been there so long, they recognize your face, so they feel like they know you. I get that at some places where I go, and I've just been there so long, people go, and they see me, so they feel like they can come over and talk to me. They shy.
But like, they don't generally get a good reaction either. So.
Oh, maybe they have short memory.
Like, because I just like fucking annoying people.
Yeah.
When people start pissing me off, I just start pissing them off back.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why they're like, "Oh, he gets annoyed every time." There's a guy who comes up to me every day, every week. He asks me, "Am I from Kildare?" Every week. I know he used to talk about Kildare GAA or Kildare something. It was like before Kildare was winning anything. It was like a family that was on Ireland's fittest family was from Kildare, and they were doing very well. And he was talking about it as if it was an accomplishment for the county. I was like, "Wow, you are really clutching at straws."
I was just trying to be nice, Mark.
And I got talking to him, and I realized he doesn't even live in Kildare. He's from Kildare, and he lives in I think Newcastle. He lives in Dublin. Why are you mentioning Kildare all the time?
Yeah, like I don't know. People are just fucking.
And then every week I go, "No, I'm not from. I don't support Kildare. I'm not from Kildare." And every week he's like, "Oh, are you from Kildare?" I think he just does it to annoy me now at some stage.
I think he just knows now. He just knows this lad's going to just go along with this.
This lad's. I can talk to him about Kildare.
Yeah, this lad's he's a bit special.
So move on to our idiots of the week. I talk about special. Hey, this is created for idiots by idiots. It's basically where we talk about people doing really dumb things. And this week we have Christians and we have influencers as our idiots of the week.
Yep.
Which one do you want to go first?
It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with the influencers because this seems like a topic we can't seem to get off.
we love a good influencer.
Yeah, we do love a good influencer.
Yeah. So right, like this is the most I don't even know how to describe this fucking story. Like, this is the most stupid thing you can do to get a lot of money. And there's this woman called I'm not fuck her. I'm not even going to fucking I'm not even going to like tell you what her name is. She's got 8 million YouTube subscribers, and she makes 750,000 British pounds, which is equal to $1 million a month, just eating shit on camera, and that's it.
Does eating like what like you said it's just shit on camera? What kind of foods is she actually eating? Or
like it's actually just normal stuff. Like it's not like people are saying, "Oh, eat a fucking worm" or anything. Like eat an apple, eat a banana, whatever.
a lot of healthy options. Like if you were to get like a person to eat something, what would you get them to eat?
I don't know.
Eat a hot chicken roll.
Yeah, like that's the kind of shit that she's doing.
Is it like? Do people like say like maybe there's delicacies? You know, if you go over the countries, there's a whole thing on like kind of YouTube where people are like they get parcels sent to them, and it's like today I'm eating food from England or today I'm eating food from Ireland, and they're like all these, and they're like, hey guys, tell me what you can eat, and there are people like, oh, eat tato crisps. Tell us what you think about tato. Because Irish people are so fucking insecure. We need to fucking validation that like our crisps are nice. Like we need the world to go, oh yes, yeah, your tato crisps are lovely, and we're like, yes, thank God, we have good taste.
Like she does it for. She used to be.
Is it like one of those videos?
She used to be a bikini and fitness model, right?
Yeah.
And she does it for. It's for sound. Like she does it for that ASMR shit.
Yeah. What's ASMR?
Autonomous sensory meridian response.
I'm still lost. I'm now even further lost. I thought it was like a radio station. I was like, okay, so some radio station is paying her to eat food for the sound effects. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's like that thing where like she just eats food.
Is she in like a
people
studio?
like the sound of it.
Oh man, that is actually people's like one of people's pet hates on radio, podcasts, anything audio based that you're listening to, that you have people either rustling or like making noise, like going like that. Like you can probably barely hear that. The people on the podcast, that's like up to the like really high level, and they're like, "Oh my fucking ears!" If they're listening to it, like. Stop twiddling your fucking things. Like I remember, like when I used to have different people on the podcast, like people would be rubbing their beard off the fucking off the microphone. They wouldn't hear it because obviously they don't have their headphones in. And by hearing the headphones, they're like, "Oh my god, I really need them to stop doing that because that's gonna piss people off." So I can't believe like people are actually paying or people are actually listening to people eating food, which is like I think it's the biggest pet peeve of them all in terms of like things that will piss people off that you listen to.
Yeah, that's what she's making her fucking money doing.
Oh, like I'm pretty sure that's like a torture technique. Like if any podcast that I'm listening to, if they start eating stuff, it's like I've already a thing about eating food. Like I can't like I'm particularly. This is one of my like pet hates. If people eat loudly, I piss myself off like drinking soup because you make that sound. There you go, as it like you breathe kind of out, and it's just that out breath pisses me off, and I can't stand myself.
Mark, that's really fucked up.
It is really fucked up. My dad's a loud eater as well. He's an extremely loud eater, and I can't be in the same room with him. I can't I used to actually shout like I really like sometimes he his mouth open, and I'm like, what kind of fucking creature are you? Close your mouth, and then he talks sometimes with like food in his mouth. I was like, seriously, who fucking reared you? It's just like a really pet hate. So like the fact that she's making £1 million a month, like it's mind-boggling.
This is like triggering for you, is it?
Oh, I generally couldn't listen to her. It would be a form of torture. Well, actually, we have the audio right here.
Well, actually, Mark,
listen to this.
Yeah, how's this for a sound?
But like, it isn't even like those parcel things where people try food from all over the world. It's just like someone's like, eat a banana, and some lad is like, she's like, okay, I'll eat a banana.
Yeah, give me €100.
And give me €100. Well, so I can understand, like, some lads might think, like, because, you know, the way a banana is shaped. I can kind of understand where some lad would be, like, if she was to eat bananas, people are like, oh, yeah, you eat that. Take a big bite there. But, like I remember there was a time where I was we're in town, and we're driving through town, we're stopped in traffic, 3 lads in a van, a girl on the bus, at the back of the bus, everyone on the back of the bus. You know how they have seats facing each other at the back?
Yeah.
So overlap. Everyone else there was like lads. And she takes out a banana, and we're stuck in traffic. And she looks up from the banana as she just peels it down. She looks up, and there's 3 lads in the van staring at her, but there's also all the other lads are just staring at her, waiting to take a bite, and she just breaks a bit off and then puts it in her mouth and goes like, "Yous are all fucking weirdos." She looks at her and goes like, "Seriously?"
Oh, Mark.
I think everyone's just waiting to go, "Way!" You know, that kind of banter.
Bands,
you know. Yeah. But like the fact that like it's just like, and it's €100 basically to give her a food suggestion, but it'll be.
Oh, you know, like €100 is just like a price that I just pull out in the hole there.
All right, so like, but like, how does she make? Because this is not only fans. This isn't like custom made videos. This is kind of like she'd have to make the video, upload it.
It's just something that she's doing on YouTube, yeah.
So like, is people emailing her in, and she's just waiting for viewers to get up so she can get like advertising money off this, or what? Or she's kind of like, hey, if you like my videos, donate to whatever.
There's no real further information.
You see, that's there's no like she does uploads videos, asks people what she wants. Like there is a whole thing about like people trying foods from different cultures. I can kind of like get people's kind of like, I don't know, like Irish people seem to be like, this seems to be a real Irish thing where we're so self-conscious about ourselves that like we need constant reevaluation, that like people like the foods that we like, people like our country, people think we're nice. Like we need constant evaluation that like people who do these shows always have to do one about Ireland, so we can be like, because they're like, we got a lot of messages in about Ireland, about to try Irish food. I'm just like, yeah, because we're so fucking self-conscious. I'm constantly looking for like a reevaluation.
Yeah, well, people like Ireland. People just like us.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like when they always say that we got a lot of messages in from Ireland looking for you to like evaluate like different Irish foods and Irish suggestions, it's like, yeah, because we're probably the only people watching your program going, oh, well, we really need valuation that like our foods are nice. I'm pretty sure people in England are like, we couldn't care less if you don't like our fucking whatever our English foods are.
Our crumpets and our...
But like, it's like a national pride that people like are Cadbury's fucking dairy milk bars.
They're technically not Irish.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I think it's just stuff that are sold over in Ireland at this stage rather than, like, if they're an actual Irish company.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get on to Christians.
Go on, fire away. You can take this one.
So our last idea of the week is Christians.
Goodbye.
So, like, it isn't actually Christians itself. It's probably some religious leader who has stated that in, like, the second coming says that there'll be a third world war and Jesus will come back. So this is what Christians are scared now that Ukraine and the Russians are at war, even though the US and UK are like, we're not getting involved. We'll give you arms. We'll give you stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we're not getting involved yet.
But if they're not going to get involved at the start. Don't get involved like, oh, we're just going to let more and more people die. And we'll wait till they're using chemical weapons. Then we'll get involved.
That's the time to get involved.
Chemical weapons? Like, they just bombed the fucking maternity hospital. Like, if you're not going to get involved then...
get involved when all the crack is kicking off.
Yeah. Yeah, but like, they think eventually... I think everyone's kind of skeptical, like, oh my god, this could be the beginning of the Third World War. And there's other kind of simulations. Like, I think that at the end of the start of the First World War, there was a pandemic. It was the Spanish flu, wasn't it? And that was just dying down. And then the First World War kicked off, and that caused a second wave of cases of Spanish flu, which killed more people than it in the both World Wars combined. So they're like, oh, this is really interesting. I know people are kind of putting simulations, going, oh, do you know, we were just over a pandemic, and now we have this thing with Ukraine and the Spanish flu and World War One. And so they're like kind of making these connections. So I can understand where people are like, oh, well, isn't there a thing in the Bible about this thing? But there isn't. It also says about like a black pope.
Yeah, that's
which I kind of feel like is a racist thing. There's like a reason not to make it black pope.
It depends on what you're like, how you interpret a black pope. It doesn't necessarily mean that the pope is going to be black.
What's the interpretation then, Ken?
Like, you know, like black and evil. Like, it can be like an evil pope. You could argue that the previous pope was an evil pope since he was a Nazi.
Wasn't he forced into like Nazi as a child, and he actually?
He was forced into Hitler Youth. He wasn't actually forced to be a Nazi soldier, which he later was. That everybody brushes over. All
right. I'm going to brush over it as well because I don't know if that's necessarily factually true. So let's move on with that one. But like, yeah, I can understand. So it's not necessarily dark. It could be evil intentions.
Yeah, like it's not necessarily like a black pope.
What's our current pope like? Is he the Argentinian one? Well, is he the Argentinian one?
I don't know where the fuck he's from.
All right. There's one that was like, he used to like skiing. He seemed like a real cool guy. He was like, hey, the gays are actually all right.
He's from, where is he from? Yeah, he's from Argentina, yeah.
Yeah, so he's the one who was like, oh yeah, the gays are all right. And gays can get married.
No, he didn't go that far.
Did you know? I thought I made some kind of thing of like, God's not going to judge you if you love the same thing, or love is love, or he made some kind of like position where it was getting closer to saying gays can get married.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, he's done a lot of cool things like that. The other pope was like, if you have tattoos, you're going to hell. He went hard the other way.
They're kind of all like that.
Yeah. I remember like being in church once and them talking about like rock music and all. I was like, all right. Well, this guy is like deluded.
This guy's a lunatic.
Yeah, this guy's crazy. There is Christian metal. I actually the other day I was like, what does the band POD?
Yeah.
I was like, what do POD actually? What does that actually stand for? And I was like,
Yeah.
there's like the guy into the van. I was like, here, Google what POD stands for, because we're listening to it in the van, and he's like, oh, gave his name. It's like, I don't know. It's like, do you know what it is? I kind of feel like you'll know what it is.
Oh, I can't remember what it is. It's something fucking stupid anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Anyway, but like
I'm gonna Google it.
on their bio, it's like they're a Christian metal band.
Yeah, I know that they're a Christian metal band.
I didn't know that about them.
POD stands for Playable on Debt.
Playable on debt?
Payable on Debt.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't actually know they're a Christian rock band.
You didn't know they were a Christian rock band?
So I wonder, like, I didn't actually read too much into this story. I wonder if they're making any preparations in order for the second coming. Like, are they going to stick to Lent this year, or does anybody do this?
Fuck if I know.
Or, like, what are they doing? Are they kind of like, oh, we better start this Third World War, because then Jesus will come?
Look busy, Jesus is coming.
But like, you said about, like, oh, Jesus will come in the Third World War, but there was already kind of before the First World War, there was a war it kind of already that involved a large part of the world. It was like, it had like Spanish, US, UK, and French, and maybe the Netherlands as well. It was over like around when they're kind of still conquering the Americas, and there was kind of like a war over they all took different sides. I had Native Americans as well. I don't know too much about this, but I remember listening to like a documentary about it, and they're like, this was basically a world war because I had like major powers.
Yeah, I don't know, never heard of it.
All right. Yeah, if I find out any more about it, but that, like, so technically there was a Third World War. Technically.
Who wants to be technical, Mark?
Yeah, exactly.
Mark with his goddamn technicalities.
I kind of feel like every year, like most years, there's a sign that the world's going to end, or there's going to be a second coming, or something's going to happen, and nothing ever does.
Yeah, but you see, then one day.
Yeah, you keep saying it, eventually you'll be right. Like, there's going to be one guy that'll actually be right. Be like, I told yous.
Like, it always annoys me. You know this Nostradamus shite?
Oh, yeah. I seen something about the pandemic. They're like, they predicted about the pandemic. And I was like, so did fucking your man, George Bush, fucking back in 2001.
Like, what annoys me about fucking Nostradamus and his predictions is that
Always happens too late.
Yeah, but not only that, but like his predictions aren't always right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's only people go like he predicted the world was going to end in 2012.
Yeah,
that didn't fucking happen.
Well, the Simpsons has got a lot of things right.
Simpsons did.
Like, we talk about like Nostradamus being some fucking mystic Mac over here, but like the Simpsons like got probably more things right than like most of these mystics.
Yeah, because this mystic fucking shite is a lot of balls. That's why.
Yeah, because like they got the Soviet Union, the new Soviet Union back thing that they thought was going to happen. Then they had Trump as a president.
It was a lot of stuff the Simpsons did that Nostradamus didn't fucking think of.
Yeah, there's a whole thing of Simpsons predicted this, and there's all these different things.
Plus, Nostradamus was never fucking specific.
See, that's the problem. If you want to predict things, so like any psychics, you have to be vague as fuck.
Yeah.
I have an auntie that used to believe that win the lotto because one of my sisters or father or mother, I don't know, went to a psychic and was like, he'll come into money. And it's like, they're like, oh, that means he'll win the lotto. That means he's going to win money. But like, I come into money every week. It's called my paycheck. Like, so yeah, of course I'll come into money. Like, who goes by in their life never comes into money, never like gets money. Like, and people go, no, it means you're going to get a lot of money. It's like, where did she say a lot of money? She says you'll come into money. That means you'll get money. That means a paycheck comes into money every week. I could find a fiver on the road. I just came into money.
Like, I remember, like Aiden's ma went to a psychic and she told her that Aiden would have three boys.
Yeah.
The only kids she'd have 3 kids and they'd all be boys. And everything that this psychic said, all came true, or it was all true information. And so everybody's waiting for these 3 boys. And guess what? It's a girl.
It was a 50-50 guess. But was there a bit of you that, like, when she got pregnant, you're like, oh, what if it's a boy? Was there a bit of you?
No.
I heard of a woman before who, like, said, like, oh, you're gonna buy a property abroad, and your husband's gonna get something. So they actually went down and bought a property abroad. And then they went out and just fulfilled all the things that like your one said they'd do. She basically just planted seeds. And like, oh my god, everything's coming true.
Yeah, oh my god, like this is how good she was. It's true.
I was like,
it's happening.
This is actually happening. Yeah, so it's just like, yeah. Hey, fair enough. If you like, people get some comfort in it, and it's kind of like if you get like some kind of comfort, but it's like when people put too much weight in, I'm like, here, wake up.
Like I'm not into like psychics and stuff at all.
No, I am into like magicians, and when I say this to people who believe in psychics, they're like, they're not the same thing. I was like, they are the same thing. They're actually the exact same thing and use similar techniques in order to fool people. Except magicians are honest about being dishonest. A magician isn't like, I have spooky powers. It's like, I'm going to read your mind. And I can't actually read your mind.
We did this thing in work before. What's his name? Keith Barry came into the shop.
Oh yeah,
and the girl that was on Tills was a big Keith Barry fan.
Yeah,
and me and one of the other lads were like, "Oh, can you do us a favor?" And he was like, "What?" And we were like, "The girl on Tills' name is whatever." And we're like, "Can you like just pretend that you just know that?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he walked up to the till and he called her name and he's like, "Can I have a bag, please?" And she was like, "Oh my god, like how did he know her name?"
Did you give him any other information, like say that she has a Volkswagen Golf out the back there?
Yeah, like just like afterwards we were like, "Yeah, no, we told them."
You're sick. I remember talking to a girl before and she was like saying, I think it was a Keith Barry gig.
Yeah.
And she was saying her friend was a huge skeptic about Keith Barry. And it's like she didn't believe him all this. She was always all shy. She like said, I would never be like, these people are just going along with this hypnotized shy. They're not actually being hypnotized. And he got her up and she's like, got her like making like blowjob signals to like the microphone, doing horrendous things. And like your one was meant to be pretty tame at the time. Like she wouldn't have done anything. And he was like basically she got the most like hypnotized out of everybody. And she's like, "No, I wasn't." She didn't believe anything. Like she's like, "No, I wasn't hypnotized. I was fine. I just got up and sat down. It didn't work." She didn't believe it at all. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I wouldn't be into it at all either. Like I just think it's all a lot of shite.
Oh, you don't actually think they get hypnotized?
No.
I I think they do.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
You just think people just go along with it because they're on stage. It's mission.
I don't necessarily think people go along with it. I think it takes a certain, like, I think people that like perform hypnotism and stuff, they look for a certain type of person.
Oh well, no, it's like hypnotism is like a studied, like science. Like it is like it's they have studied hypnotism. Like you don't have to be a magician or like a mystic Mac to like do hypnosis. Like psychologists, can hypnotize people all the time. Like
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, but like psychologists, like it doesn't work on everybody.
Yeah.
It only works in a certain type of person. So you need like some understanding of psychology to figure out who it's going to work on and who it's not going to work on.
Yeah, I think more people are susceptible. Like Darren Brown did this a lot. He did a live TV show where he had to give a disclaimer. It's like, okay, if you can't get up off your couch, this number you ring, and we'll help you out here. Because people, like, he would do hypnotizing, and people would actually be hypnotized watching the TV show. Like people are really kind of are like whatever the word is, so susceptible to it. But I don't necessarily think it wouldn't work on me. I don't think you can tell if it will work on you or not.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because like look at your own toe was bullshit as well, and she got caught. I think like if I ever got hypnotized, because I'd be the opposite. I think I'd get hypnotized like the easiest person in the world. I'm very gullible. I feel like,
really?
I feel like that. You know, we just spent 40 minutes talking about mermaids, Mark. everyone agrees with you. But like I think like I'd want to be hypnotized so much that I wouldn't be hypnotized. You know, if you wanted too much, you just maybe there would be like I'd be like, oh, it just hypnotized me. I was like, am I doing something wrong? I mean, do you need me to lie a certain way?
What do you want me to do?
How can I make myself more hypnotized? And it just wouldn't work. I'd be trying too much and be like, damn it. We should get like a Keith Barry type on the show before. That'd be a good crack.
That'd be funny.
Anyway, we'll probably have to leave it there. We're way over time. We'll be back next week. We're sorry about the bit of a delay in terms of getting the podcast to you, but you know what? It'll be a shorter distance between this week's show and next week's show. Just think about it like
Maybe.
that. Maybe. We'll see. Talk to you then.
Good luck.
Oh, no.